What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Big Five Pod, episode number 16. I am your co-host, Kyle Morello, and next to me, as always, Jay Copestick. Cope, how we doing?
We're doing well. We're doing well. It was pretty good night in the Big Five last night, going 2-1 with Temple and Villanova winning. I got a chance to see a couple other games too. Watch TCU Baylor, which is a great game, and then tonight, watch Purdue and Ohio State, which came down to the town of the wire. So a lot of good basketball going on. The conference play has been great so far. A lot of really good games. So can't complain at all. A lot of good basketball last couple of nights. A lot of good basketball in front of us. So let's get to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get right to it. Yeah, good night. We're gonna talk about the Villanova game first. They beat Georgetown 73-57. Close game at halftime, though. It was tied at 35 at halftime. Villanova ended up pulling away in the second half, which we all expected them to, though I don't think we expected it to be as close in the first half. Caleb Daniels was the leading scorer in this one, 20 points on 6 of 15 from the field. Slater had 14 points on 3 of 5 from the field. Eric Dixon had 10 and 8. And Mark Armstrong, 14 on 5 of 9 off the bench. So good game all around for the Wildcats here. Georgetown, 4 of 20 from 3. So not great shooting performance from them. On the flip side of that, not quite the same thing, but Nova, we always talk about the free throw shooting. 18 of 18 from the line in this one, 100%. That's going to play. It's absolutely going to play. So Cope, talk to me about this one. What did you see? How did they make an adjustment from the first half to be able to pull away in this one?
So they just stopped turning the ball over. They had a couple bad turnovers in the first half to let Georgetown get up and run. Now Georgetown hit a couple shots in the first half, and that really didn't happen in the second half. They're not a good shooting team, and they kept shooting after they missed a bunch, made a couple early. But Nova cut down on the turnovers. Really good possessions. Played through Eric Dixon inside out. Caleb Daniels hit some threes. Mark Armstrong made some really good plays when they needed him to. He was aggressive trying to score. He had a couple steals getting in the passing lanes, but just better offense from them, not turning the ball over. They were making shots, long possessions, getting open ones. As long as they cut down on their own mistakes and you don't beat yourself, which is Nova's not a team that does that a lot. You're going to see that from them. And it was a typical Nova performance in the second half. Really, really good defense, defensively as well. Not giving up open shots, closing space on shooters. Now, Georgetown wasn't making anything, but a very, very complete second half of basketball for them. Obviously, this is a team that they really should dominate. They should have no problem with, as we said. So first half was a little shaky. Georgetown was making some shots. Nova hit a lot more shots in the second half, but offensively, defensively, they made life hard for Georgetown on both ends. They were able to pull away and win this game by double digits after being tied at halftime. So very, very good second half from them. Jordan Longino got hurt, left leg injury. Kyle Neptune said today it's going to be nothing serious. So hopefully he'll be back. Maybe not Saturday, but maybe in the near future. But tidy it up, in terms of handling the ball. You don't turn it over. You don't give out easy points to Georgetown. You don't give them extra possessions. That's what it was in the second half. Very, very clean and very fundamentally sound second half from Nova, like we're accustomed to seeing. So it was night and day from first half and the second half. Georgetown was leading a little bit in this game too, but very good second half from these guys. If they're going to play like they do in the second half, they're going to have a chance against some of the best teams in the Big East for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they found a way, which is something that's important because obviously Georgetown's lost, I think it's 25 straight Big East games now. So obviously, it's an extreme of a bad team, but sometimes those lesser conference opponents are pesky and they find a way to, pull out victories. So it's good for this Villanova team to not let that happen because they very easily could have. But it's good for them that they were not susceptible for that in this one. So good on them. All right, we're going to move on to another victory in the Big Five that happened on Wednesday night. Temple beating South Florida, though this one much closer, 68-64. And looking at the team stats for this one, this was really like a really close game. Obviously, like the score was within 4 points, but like almost every stat that they had was within a few of each other, like assists, rebounds, turnovers, which I'll get to in a second, like everything. Even their shooting percentages were almost identical in this game. So it was a very, very close game, but Temple was able to pull this one out. And their scoring production came from the two guys who used to be starters and now are on the bench. Damian Dunn leading the way, Feels good to say his name again. It's been a while. 19 points on 5 of 10 from the field. And Caleb Battle, 15 points on 4 of 11 from the field. In terms of the starters, Jaleel White, another good game, 10 and 7, 4 of 5 shooting, which is good. Hysier Miller, 13 points on 3 of 6 shooting. You want to talk about Villanova's shooting prowess from the free throw line. Temple also had a very good one, not quite as good, not 100%, but 23 of 26. I'm not a math guy. I believe that's 88% though, which will absolutely play. However, from 3-point land, they only shot 3 of 14. So that's not very good. It's around 20%. And, going back to what I said about the turnovers, they had 18, which is a lot. That is not good. It's probably the reason why South Florida stayed in this game. However, South Florida turned the ball over 17 times themselves. So 35 total turnovers in this one. Not great from either side, but, a gutsy victory for the Owls nonetheless on the road in Tampa. What are your thoughts on this one? 3-0 in AAC play now, by the way.
Yeah, so hey, you got to give Temple credit. It wasn't pretty. It was pretty ugly, but that's how they won last year. Like I've talked about since we've been on here, they won ugly games. It didn't matter. It's winning. It doesn't matter how you do it. If it's you shoot a great percentage or you shoot a bad percentage and you scrap one out. A win's a win. They're 3-0 in conference, 2 of which came on the road. And you bring up the free throws. You also bring up that the stats are pretty much identical. Both these teams really didn't shoot that well, but sometimes it can come down to that. You just make enough shots at the free throw line. If they just miss 4 of these, this game goes to overtime. You know what I mean? So a 23 to 26 from the line. I guess you can point to a bunch of different things, but free throws is huge. But I was just really impressed with this team's resolve. South Florida would come back, take the lead a little bit. It was close. It was back and forth, but their last 3 defensive possessions, they forced a 5-second call on an inbounds pass. They blocked 2 shots. Hysier Miller and Damian Dunn had some deflections and some blocks on their last possession, I believe with 30 seconds left, South Florida. And then Damian Dunn took a charge on the other end to kind of seal the deal here. So they strapped up on defense. They made plays when they had to and got stops. And then they were able to hit their free throws and close this one out. So wasn't pretty. Zach Hicks did not make a 3 in this game. Even you look at South Florida, Tyler Harris, their leading scorer, didn't have a great game either. So it's ugly. It wasn't pretty, but they fought, they clawed, they scrapped one out. They made free throws. Doesn't matter how you get it, especially in conference. You'll take a win any way you can get it. But a gutsy win nonetheless. They made plays and they had to on defense. They made their free throws to close this one out. So, you hope you don't turn the ball over 18 times because you're not going to win many games doing that. But with everything they had, Zach Hicks not having a good game, turning the ball over a lot on the road. This team's coming back. They won't go down. They keep fighting back to make it a close game to take the lead. You talk about all that, and hey, it's a pretty solid win for Temple. There's games like that this year where they haven't won, where they've led, they've gone down, they've lost. So to see them win 3 in a row in the conference, especially on the road, got to commend them on a good effort for sure. So really proud of them. The non-conference didn't get off to a good start, losing to Wagner, didn't get the ending that they wanted with a loss at home to Maryland Eastern Shore, but here they are 3-0 in the conference, which until tonight was better than Houston. Houston took care of SMU and smashed them at home, so they're now 3-0 in the conference. But you woke up this morning and you saw Temple at the top of the AAC, which is pretty cool. So good for them. They're 3-0. They got another one coming up. Long road in conference play here, but a great start nonetheless. And then to see Damian Dunn score 19 after him missing the game with a concussion. He was struggling. This is the most points he's had in a game since the Vanderbilt game, where he started off the year very hot in the first 3 games. So if that's a sign of things to come, maybe we're pointing upward with the trajectory of this Temple teams. If they can get some scoring from him, and they can play dirty like this and win a mucky game like this, they're going to win a lot more games in conference play. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we saw last year and that we were not really seeing so far this year that I think finally is coming to fruition is just the fight. The grittiness, the grind that they had, how they grinded out games last year. They're finally doing that this year. And it's great to see. And this was supposed to be the identity of this team. And they kind of went away from that. And I also think it was effort level was involved in that too. And I think that's ramped up as well. So it's definitely great to see, 3-0 conference play is definitely something, obviously you want, but nobody really expected it, I don't think. So Props to the Owls for that. Props to Aaron McKee, showing the fight and bouncing back from the early season struggles. All right. Speaking of early season struggles, this team did not fare well against Dayton, and that would be the St. Joe's Hawks, losing 76-56. Listen, we're not going to sugarcoat it. We don't sugarcoat on this show. It was ugly. It was not good. Cam Brown was the leading scorer with 13 points, 5 of 18 from the field. Eric Reynolds had 12, but 5 of 14 from the field. They did have 4 people in double figures, but like when you shoot, ready for this, 31% from the field and 20% from 3, it doesn't really matter if you have 4 guys in double figures. It's not going to work. You're not knocking down shots anyway. Whereas Dayton shot 57% from the field and 50% from 3. So the complete opposite. One thing positive for the Joes, only 7 turnovers in this one. So not bad at all on that front, but they were out assisted 21-7. So they had a 2 touchdown deficit in that department, which is not good. Listen, this was ugly. This is not good. And St. Joe's, they did show some fight against St. Louis, only a 5-point loss there at home. This one was the complete opposite, where they weren't knocking anything down. They didn't turn the ball over. Like, it wasn't ugly that way, but clearly they were, having a lot of isolation play, only 7 assists. Obviously, these assist numbers could be higher if they actually hit their shots. But what do you take away from this game? Because this is bad. I know Dayton's the top team in the conference, but this is not good.
Yeah. So here, obviously, like you said, we don't want to sugarcoat it. They had a lead in the first half. For at least some of it, they didn't go down getting killed at halftime. This game wasn't over at halftime. They were very much in it. But what I take away is that when Dayton's on, They're still missing 2 stars. I think this was more about Dayton than it was at St. Joe's. Dayton's defense was very good in the second half. They had guys that were able to switch, make life tough on the guards. For St. Joe's, there was a play where Tumani Kamara got switched on to Eric Reynolds, a matchup that St. Joe's would probably like and would probably want to attack and exploit. And Kamara was able to slide with him all the way across the court and block a shot. I mean, these guys were active. They were playing good on-ball defense, not giving up anything easy. And you can just see that with the fact that Eric Reynolds and Cam Brown shot a combined 10-32. The shooting percentage was low. You have to give some of that to Dayton. They were forcing St. Joe's into tough shots, into bad shots. And then defensively, they tried. St. Joe's will come out in the 1-3-1 press. We know that they'll do that. They want to trap at the top. And it was working a little bit in the first half. But the second half, I think they started to get tired. I think the Dayton defense started to wear on them a little bit. And Dayton was able to get some really easy buckets out of the press. They were able to fly down the court, make some good passes, advance the ball up the court without turning it over. Deron Holmes got some easy buckets. They were just able to exploit the trap and then pull away here. So as much as you can say, hey, St. Joe's didn't shoot the ball well, Dayton did shoot the ball well. The press got messed up late. I just think the guys were tired and Dayton would just start. I think that they just started to wear on them as a team. I think that's what it was. And to play at UD Arena too, it's one of the toughest places to play in the A-10. One of the toughest road trips you got to make. Yeah, there's a lot of negatives here. They didn't shoot the ball well. Maybe the defense wasn't great, which still, the 3-point defense still has to improve. It's been something we've been harping on. It still has to be better. But this Dayton team, when they're on, and they're not even fully healthy yet. They're still down 2 starters and their starting point guard in Malachi Smith. They had to start a true freshman in Mike Sharamjats. I hope I said that right, man. He's got a funky name, but they just started a true freshman at point guard. Only the second guy in I think the last decade maybe to ever start, for Dayton as a true freshman. So this team isn't even fully healthy yet. They don't have their full group of players here, and they were still able to pull away from St. Joe. So sure, there's some negatives about the Hawks here, but this Dayton team's really good. It's been a down year in the A-10. I think when this team gets fully healthy, there's no reason why they shouldn't represent the conference in the tournament in March. So as much as you can point to things for St. Joe's, this was about Dayton being on. They played a very good defensive second half, and it led to a lot of offense for them.
Yeah, I mean, Dayton, as we said coming in, they were the preseason favorite in the A-10, and I think they're still the favorite in the A-10. And like you said, they probably should be representing the conference in the NCAA tournament come March. But I mean, you you do wish you had a little bit of a better showing from St. Joe's, but they were playing the best team in their conference. So maybe cut them a tiny bit of slack, but at the same time, if they want to be that someday, they have to start by beating the best teams in the conference. So it's that's a double-edged sword there, but we will move on from that. We will be talking about some St. Joe's games here in a second. Now, before we get into the upcoming games, I want to mention that we did mention the Penn Cornell game on Friday in our previous episode 15. So if you are looking for that game, that won't be on this episode, but go check out the last one. We weren't sure if we were going to get to that because our friend here, Copestick, is getting out his wisdom teeth on Friday. So he's going to be out of commission for a few days. So we didn't know if we are going to record this weekend. But we were able to record tonight. This is Thursday night. So definitely wanted to get you guys an episode. Come on now. We're trying our best here. But so if you want to check out that one, go to episode 15. All right, moving on to the games coming up for the weekend. These are all on Saturday. All these games are on Saturday. 3 of these games are at 2 p.m. on Saturday. These first 3 games we're going to talk about here. So we're going to get into that now. We're going to stay in the A-10. Rhode Island coming to North Philly, taking on LaSalle. This Rhode Island team's not great. 5-9 on the year, 200 in Ken Palm. LaSalle's 263 though, so they're not far from each other, but they're both not the best teams. Rhode Island does do one thing well though. They are 29th in the country in offensive rebound percentage, 35% in that. And they have some guys, Ishmael Leggett, 15.8 points per game. He's their leading scorer. They also have their second leading scorer, Brayon Freeman, 13.5 points per game. And then Malik Martin is their leading rebounder, 6.4 rebounds per game. So Rhode Island team, not great, but they have, some players and they are supposed to be better than this LaSalle team. Though I do think it'll be a close matchup. I'm not 100% sure who wins. If I had to go with my gut right now, I would say Rhode Island, solely due to the fact that, they rebound the ball really well. And I don't think that's something that LaSalle does particularly well. How do you see this one playing out?
So this is going to come down to turnovers, and I feel like a broken record always saying that about LaSalle. But this Rhode Island team, especially in the half court, they're going to pick up the ball. They're going to be very close to the ball. They're going to put pressure in your face. And if LaSalle can't handle that, and they're going to give transition opportunities and easy buckets to Rhode Island, then this game is definitely done. So I look at that, and it's going to be the turnovers pretty much are key in every game for LaSalle, as we've talked about. It's going to be a recurring thing until we see it diminish a little bit and go down. So yeah, like you said, this team's not great. However, with the rebounding percentage, that probably will be affected. It was just announced today that Rhode Island center Joseph Appalau is going to be out for the season due to knee surgery. He started 5 games, averages 7 points, almost 6 rebounds a game. Like I said, he started a couple games for them, has played in 8 of their games. So he's unfortunately is going to be out. That's going to affect things because this team is not huge. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. Do you play Rokas Josias? He will probably have more opportunities against a smaller team that's now missing a guy who can play starter minutes for them. Or are you going to have this team maybe stretch it out a little bit, try and take advantage of that? So there's a couple of things you can look at here. However, this team does not shoot the ball well from 3. They are 309th in 3-point percentage. So I don't think that Rokas Josias, if he plays a lot in this game, is going to have to be really worried about having to step out and guard that. I think this is a game where if there's not a ton of size in for Rhode Island, you could see a lot of the Drame twins in and playing some small ball lineups. But it's going to be this comes down to the turnovers. This team is going to pressure you in the half court. They're going to be in your face guarding the ball. They're not going to give you anything easy. And if they're going to turn the ball over, then like I said, this game is done. So yeah, you can look at the record. This Rhode Island team's not very good, solely record-wise and some metrics. It's a brand new team. Archie Miller comes in, formerly at Dayton, so he's back in the A-10, was the coach at Indiana until 2021, took a year off last year. Now he's back in basketball, and we'll be talking about his brother Sean coming up here soon when we talk about the Villanova Xavier game. But I do think LaSalle can win this game, but they have to cut down the turnovers. This isn't a team that's going to wow you offensively in Rhode Island. Yeah, they have some guys. Brayon Freeman, interconference transfer coming from George Washington's had a nice year for them. And then Ishmael Leggett can step out and hit some threes and attack the basket as well. So it's defense, it's rebounding. It's not turn the ball over. That's how you're going to end up winning games in conference play. So you got to kind of throw out the record here. You have to respect every opponent, but you cannot turn the ball over here if you're LaSalle. I do think they can really win this game. I really do. But they're going to have pressure in their face every possession in the half court on offense. They got to be able to handle that. However, I do think they'll pull out a win here. I know it's been kind of a rough start to 2023 for them, losing the VCU game. I believe that was on New Year's Eve. But I think they can. I think they can get a win at home here. I think that they're gonna be in games for sure. They showed some pretty good fight in the VCU game. Played a pretty good first half in that. So I think they can get a win here. But that turnover, that turnover number is going to be something that I've had my eye on all year, and I'm going to continue to have my eye on. So they're going to be facing a lot of defense. They're going to have to cut the turnovers down. But I do think LaSalle pulls out a win here.
All right, we are on opposite sides of the aisle here. So interesting to see how that will play out. But yeah, I mean, that's the one thing with LaSalle. We talk about with most of the Big Five teams too. We don't really talk about it with Nova that much, but for the other four, turnovers have been a big thing the entire year. And LaSalle, I think, has been the worst offender of that. So if they cut that down, they can be in any game, but they haven't to prove it. They haven't proved it yet so far. So definitely something that they need to do. All right, we're going to keep in the A-10. St. Joe's going on up to Fordham on Saturday, again, also at 2. This Fordham team is very interesting. Obviously, Kyle Neptune leaves to go to Villanova. They had like one of their best years last year in recent memory, maybe even in their program's history. And I don't really think people were expecting them to be much this year, and yet they're 12-3, and they're in the top half of Ken Palm, 184th. Whereas St. Joe's is 224, just for reference there. And, they have a couple guys too. Darius Quisenberry is their leading scorer, 18 points per game on the nose. And Abdu Simbila, I'm praying I said that name right. I think I did. I've been studying it. 8 rebounds per game. So he's their main rebounding guy. And, they're off to a good start this year. I know they're not like the most overwhelming team, but definitely, they've strung together some wins here, this Fordham team. So St. Joe's kind of on the downswing, Fordham kind of on the upswing, which will play out in this one.
So, man, it's definitely tough to say because again, you got to go on the road. It's like I said, like I will keep harping on it every single time that we talk about a Big Five team going on the road in conference play. It's just hard. That's just the name of the game. It's hard to win anywhere, but it's hard to win on the road in conference play. So they're going to go up to Rose Hill Gym against a Fordham team that is wildly gone over the win total and the projections of anybody this year. I mean, how about this for as crazy year the A-10's had? You've had Fordham and Duquesne who have pretty much been bottom feeders in the conference, especially last year, with Duquesne being the worst team. Fordham historically the last few years not been very good. They had 2 of the best non-conference records in this whole league, which is wild. But this team, they're now under Keith Ergo's leadership. Keith Ergo was an assistant for Kyle Neptune last year, so he was on the bench for Kyle Neptune. He now steps into the head role this year. He's done a pretty good job. His team's been feisty. They've been competitive. I was able to watch a little bit of their film against Rhode Island. It was convenient. I got to watch both of them at the same time. But Ken Palm says they're the 240th best offense, 137th defense. How about the 31st best 2-point defense, though? They're going to play physical. They want to get up in your face. Kyle Rose, who's been there for a couple years, is probably their best defender, leads them in steals. He's going to be probably guarding the best player. He's probably going to be on Eric Reynolds quite a bit. He's going to be trying to force the ball out of his hands, make life difficult for him. But I do think St. Joe's has, they have the ability to win this game for sure. It's just that they have to defend the 3-point line. If they can do that, I mean, I think they'll win a lot more. I think they'll win a lot more games here. I think it's going to be a rough year for them. It's kind of been rough in the Billy Lang era, but I do think that they could squeak out a win here. But this Fordham team's playing really well. St. Joe's team is kind of on the downslide. Got to go up to Rose Hill Gym and play another game after getting thrashed by Dayton. So I think they can keep it close. But I got to say, I really like this Fordham team. They've been a great story. People just kind of threw them away when Kyle Neptune left abruptly and they had to figure things out. They were able to keep most of their guys. They got Khalid Moore from Georgia Tech to come over. So I do like this Fordham team. I think they're a good story. Do I think that they're as good as their record indicates? Maybe not, but I still think this is a solid team that can protect their home court. So could St. Joe's win this game? Sure. But I got to say, I like the story of this Fordham team. I like the way they play. I think Keith Ergo's doing a good job there and has earned himself, quite a long stay there because Fordham, not exactly the most attractive job, but he's done a good job this year. The players seem to like him. So give me Fordham because they're at home. But it's the 3-point defense for me that just kind of scares me away from St. Joe's. in games like this.
Yeah, I mean they've really struggled defending the perimeter this year. And yeah, this Fordham team's feisty. I also agree that their record probably doesn't reflect their actual talent level. I think they're probably slightly worse than that. And who knows, maybe they'll regress to the mean at some point here soon. But for right now, they're the better team in this matchup. And I don't think it's out of the question St. Joe's can win the game. They've won tougher games as we've seen. But I don't know. Or at least they've been in tougher games too, rather. But I think Fordham will come out with this one. I think it'll be close though. I want to say within 6 points, but I definitely think it'll be close. So looking forward to that one on Saturday too. The third and final Saturday at 2 game on the Big Five slate. There's the fact that there's 3 of them is kind of insane. This should be a good one at the Liacouras Center. Tulane taking on Temple. Like I said, at the Liacouras Center at home. And listen, this Tulane team, historically not the best in the American, but this team is no slouch. 94th in Ken Palm, whereas Temple is 125. They're 9-5 on the year. I was just thinking about how their football team beat USC in the Cotton Bowl. That has nothing to do with this game, but that was a hell of a game.
Oh, yeah.
Was just thinking about that. But this basketball team, 22nd in adjusted tempo, according to Ken Palm. So they like to play fast. They like to get up and down the floor. However, despite that, they are 5th in the country in turnover percentage. They only turn the ball over about 14%. Not bad at all. They're also 4th in free throw percentage at 81.1%. So we talked about Nova being up there, and I don't know their exact percentage. I'm sure they're probably in the top 10. If I had to imagine, they're a very, very good free throw shooting team. But this Tulane team is in the same breath as them, which is definitely, something that Temple should look out for. Maybe not try to not get them to the line as much in this one. Listen, this is going to be a battle. Temple's playing better lately. Tulane is a really good team that definitely shouldn't be overlooked just because how well Temple's been playing and the fact that they're home. But like we've said, it's tough to win on the road in conference play. And if I had to pick one right now, I would pick Temple by the slimmest of margins in this game. I want to say probably within a possession. But if the Owls keep playing they have the last 3 games, I definitely think they can pull it out. How do you see this one playing out?
So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you said it last time that Silvio Dante moniker. It's like just when they thought I was out, they pulled me back in. That's what this Temple team. It's like, hey, they're 3-0 all of a sudden, and they're squeaking out tough wins. So now they're at home. They got to defend their home court on Saturday against Tulane. Tulane under Ron Hunter's leadership. Everybody remembers him from coaching his son, R.J. Hunter at Georgia State, falling off his stool when he hit that shot against Baylor. And who can forget that? But no, this is a good team. They returned a lot of guys. They'll probably be another top 5, top 6 team in the American. I would think. But you mentioned that they don't really they can get to the line. They can make free throws. They don't really turn the ball over. They like to play fast. And all of that can work for them if you turn the ball over as many times as Temple has. If you're going to turn the ball over, let them run and do exactly what they want. They can score, and vice versa. They really won't turn the ball over and let you go out and run. And then if they have a lead based off that, of all the turnovers, they can put this game away. So I'm going to harp on the turnovers again here, because if you're going to turn the ball over a lot, you're going to play exactly into the strength of this Tulane team that wants to run up and down, turn you over. And then if they have a lead, clearly they're able to make free throws and put games away. So you can't put yourself in that position. You have to try and slow this game down, get some quality shots, get some shot making from Damian Dunn and Caleb Battle. To me, Damian Dunn's kind of the X factor here. I mean, they need Zach Hicks to give them more than they did last game. You're going to have bad games. We've seen Zach Hicks had some really good games this year, just couldn't hit a shot in the South Florida game. So I think Zach Hicks has to hit some shots. But in this game, if they slow it down offensively, they put Damian Dunn in a position to score. They kind of let him create his own shot and put some buckets in for him. And if he can have another 19, 20-point performance like he did against South Florida, I do think they can win this game. So do I see this as a spot that Temple could drop a game? Absolutely, because they started out 3-0. I don't know how many people thought they would do that, starting out conference play the way they did. But I will trust them again, because they've won a couple games here, the 3-0 in conference play. I'm going to trust them one more time here at home to beat a good Tulane team in the conference. But slow the game down, rely on your shot makers, put him in a position to score here, get Damian Dunn the ball in the paint, let him create, spread the floor here, and don't turn the ball over and play exactly into what Tulane wants to do. If they keep the turnovers down here, I do think Temple wins this game, but they're going to need a big game from Damian Dunn, and they're going to need Zach Hicks to hit some shots. So I'm going to agree with you. I think it'll be a tight win. It'll be very close, but give me the Owls at home here.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, there's every reason why Temple can win this game, and there's every reason why Temple can't win this game. So it really just depends on how they want to, when they step on the floor on Saturday too, how do they want to play? Do they want to play sloppy, or do they want to play their style and differ from Tulane's style? Because if they do that, then they'll win. And like you said, if they feed into Tulane's playing style, then it's not going to be pretty for them. But I do think they can pull it out on the home floor. And yeah, we'll see what happens. That'll be an interesting one. All right, one final game for this weekend, also on Saturday, but this one in prime time, 7 p.m. Xavier taking on Villanova at the Finn. I'm excited for this one. I'm very, very excited for this one. The UConn game and the Marquette game, obviously those are both really, really good teams, and they played UConn fairly well, and they played Marquette really, really well. It came down to final possession there. I'm excited for this matchup because I think, Xavier is just coming off a huge win, and Nova's, they're coming off a couple losses, but they've been in games. So I'm really excited for this. But this Xavier team, 18th ranked team in the country, 23rd in KenPom, however. Nova is 54th in KenPom for reference. I always try to put where our big five teams are for reference, so you can compare these teams. Xavier 9th in the country in adjusted offense and 23rd in pace, so right behind that Tulane team in terms of adjusted pace. So they also like to get up and down the floor a lot. Soli Bomb, 16.9 points per game is their leading scorer.
Sule Boom, almost had it. You were close.
Damn it! I knew I messed it up. It's
you were
fine.
Close. It's okay. You almost had it.
I tried. It's okay. Zach Freemantle is their leading rebounder per game, 7.8. And Colby Jones is their other really big piece, 5.6 assists per game, 1.5 steals per game. So those are some of their key guys. Another very, very important stat for this one, they are third in 3-point percentage in the country at 40.4. So they have an electric offense. They knock down shots. They get up and down the floor. I think this will be a tough matchup for Villanova. I don't know entirely how this one will play out, especially because Nova's at home. So I'm gonna let you take the floor. I'm gonna let you, preview this game, say what you need to say, and then I think I'll make my prediction after that. But what do you think for this one?
So I really, really like the Xavier team. I was telling anybody who would listen to my annoying self that I really thought that they could even win the Big East this year, and they've been all that and then some. They got 3 losses this year to Indiana at home when they were at full strength, to Gonzaga and to Duke, and they were in all of those games. I mean, this is a legitimate Sweet 16 second weekend team. They're that good. Their offense is a buzzsaw. You mentioned Sule Boom. He comes in from UTEP as a 5th-year point guard, and they needed a point guard because last year the coach gets fired. Travis Steele had vastly underdelivered with as good as this team was. It's almost the same team as last year. They're just actually good, and they're winning these close games against good teams. Travis Steele couldn't do it. You insert Sean Miller in his second stint. Brings in Sule Boom because Dwan Odom from last year leaves for Georgia State. He follows Jonas Hayes, who was the assistant coach, who was the interim coach that helped him win the NIT. Say the whole point guard. He finds his man in Sule Boom, who has not only been one of the best transfers in college basketball, he's been one of the best players in college basketball as well. I mean, to come from UTEP, where he played for 3 years, and then to come into the Big East and Xavier, be the starting point guard from day one, and then be the leading scorer and produce like this, it's very, very impressive. And you got to give him a lot of props because he's legitimately been, like I said, not only one of the best transfers, one of the best players in college basketball. And then you talk about Zach Freemantle, Jack Nungy, who I think is a really good player. And then Colby Jones is an NBA prospect. And you talk about him being the 4th leading scorer on this team. I mean, it's incredible, the depth, the shooting, and the talent that they have. But they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. They can all spread the floor. Even Freemantle and Nungy can step out and hit threes. They can drive the ball. They like to push the ball in transition if possible. So they can hurt you in a lot of different ways. The thing I'm worried about Villanova here is I got to watch Xavier when they played St. John's. I saw them play Indiana, UConn as well. But I saw them play St. John's last week. And what stuck out to me was they were able to get a lot of switches inside on their bigs. And if you know anything about Villanova, they switch anything and everything. They will switch a ton on defense. And if they can get a Chris Arcidiacono or a Mark Armstrong matched up here on Zach Fremantle or Jack Nungy, they're going to look to spread the whole floor because you got to respect them there and just have a big in the paint. And if that's the case, they might be able to get beat down there. But then you double, like we saw Villanova when they played UConn. On the weak side, they doubled Adama Sanogo to not allow in easy entry passes. That left the weak side open with Andre Jackson, who wasn't a great shooter, and we knocked down a big shot in crunch time. But you can't do that with the Xavier team. You got to respect everybody's three-point ability. You're not really going to be able to overhelp a ton because they don't really have too many weaknesses as far as guys who can come in and shoot threes. Most of this team can come in and knock down a three. So they can spread you out. If they get a switch and they get a matchup they want, they can hurt you inside. And then if you double them, they can kick it outside for a three. This team's really, really impressive offensively. Sean Miller's got his footprints all over this team because you see just how good they are compared to last year. This is a really good team. And Villanova, the Finn, is a tough place to play. But this Xavier team, I'm very, very high on them. Offensively, they got a lot of firepower here. So I think Nova could win this game if they don't turn the ball over because this team wants to push and get easy baskets. But offensively in the half court, there's a lot of different ways Xavier can hurt you. And I really, really like this team. Now, they might be due for a letdown spot here. They did just beat UConn, hand them their first loss of the year. Haven't lost the game in the conference yet. They're a really, really good team. So could I see Villanova win it? Absolutely. But at the same time, it wouldn't shock me if Sean Miller and Xavier went into the Finn and made a big time statement because this team is that good. They are legit. They will make the tournament this year. And they could be a super, super dark horse to make the Final Four. That's how good this team is. That win against UConn was no fluke. I know the Cintas Center is a very hard place to play, but this team's legit, man. They are very, very good. They're deep. They can shoot. They have two good bigs who can stretch the floor and hurt you inside. So they're going to give Villanova a lot of problems. So they got to be careful about how they attack this. If they're going to help off of shooters, if they're just going to play one-on-one switches in the paint, Sean Miller is going to be able to take advantage of whatever they give him. So this is a very, very tough game for them. And I don't know if I've gone against Nova at all this year, maybe when they played Michigan State, but Xavier could go in there and beat them. They really, really could. But at the same time, like I said, Finn's a tough place to play. Xavier might be due for a letdown here. It would be a really big win for Villanova. They could string together a second one after beating Georgetown. So this game could go either way. I'm just excited to watch it. Hopefully my bleeding has subsided from my wisdom teeth and I can watch this game somewhat pain-free because this is the premier game of the Big Five this weekend for sure. So sorry, I rambled. I got excited. I really like the Xavier team.
No,
it's a hell of a matchup. So now I want to know what you're thinking. I've done enough talking myself.
I mean, listen, the one thing I'm thinking first is that, you'll probably be in a little bit of pain. The first day after, not the day you get it, the day you get the surgery, you'll definitely be in pain. The day after your wisdom teeth comes out, you'll still be into pain. By day 3, you should get a little better. That's what happened with me. Then again, I only had 3 wisdom teeth. I would assume you probably have 4. Is that you got
Yes,
4? So
4
yeah,
out.
So it might be a little different for you, but you'll listen. If there's one thing I know you're not going to complain about, it's getting to sit on the couch and watch college basketball. So and NFL football on Sunday.
Oh, of course.
And Saturday night there's a couple games too. So definitely know you're excited about that one. And listen, between your analysis and looking on Ken Palm has this game as a 77-76 Villanova victory. Now I think it was in like the 50% range of like confidence because like when you have rating systems like that, usually there's a percentage of like confidence that the ratings have them. And this one was in the 50s, which is like, obviously. I think I might agree with it though. And I think this is a very tough place to play at the Finn. And yes, this Xavier team's a buzzsaw on offense and they're dangerous. They're very, very dangerous. But we kind of talked about this in the Temple Tulane game, having fast-paced teams and teams that shoot well. The one thing that feeds that engine is turnovers. And the one thing that Villanova doesn't do, at least as much as the other Big Five teams, is turn the ball over. And they're also a very, very good free throw shooting team. So if it's close and they're not turning the ball over and, they're not having a crazy inefficient game, I could see them being able to close it out down the stretch on the free throw line. And I think as much as Xavier's 3-point shooting and pace comes into play, I think the free throw shooting matters just as much, both now and in March. So I'm going to go with Nova. It's going to be very, 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 very close. Also, I think within one possession. I don't know if I'll have the balls to say it's a 1-point game. I don't know if I can call that specifically, but I definitely think a 1-possession game is what's going to happen here. And I think Villanova's going to win, but I could also definitely see Xavier coming to the fin and pulling one out. But I am going to stick with Nova here. It's going to be a battle. I'm very, very excited. This is one of the, we've had a few games on here so far this year that I've tried to hype up, especially the Inter Big Five games. But besides those Inter Big Five games, this is probably the one that I've been most excited about going into. So definitely going to be watching this. This is going to be a lot of fun. So with that being said, that's pretty much all we got on this episode number 16. Do you have any final thoughts here before we head out?
Yeah, so I do just have one quick thought. I wish I could be a Penn helping out the Palestra on Sunday because the Big Ten's going to play a game there. So Purdue just played tonight. Penn State played last night. They're going to be playing each other at the Palestra. I think it's cool that the Big Ten does this. Obviously, the greater Philadelphia area, you have a huge Penn State fan base. I believe they're the designated home team. So I'm sure they'll sell out the Palestra. They shouldn't have a problem doing that. I did just want to say one thing. Zach E, there's probably no way he sees this, but I am sorry, brother, if you have to use the visiting locker room at the Palestra because you might have to get on your hands and knees to get through the doorway and wait until maybe you get back to your hotel or you get home to take a shower because there's no way you're going to fit in there. So sorry. I wish there was a better way to accommodate a 7'4" guy like yourself. But
listen, there's not many of them.
If they're in the designated visiting locker room, I'm sorry for that man because he's going to have no room. He's not going to be able to shower. Might not even fit in the bathroom stall, and he's going to have to get on. Might have to crawl to get, like I said, to get in the doorway. So not exactly going to be the nicest accommodations for him, but should be a really good game at the Palestra. I think it's cool that they include a Big Ten game here. I wish they would do it more often. Obviously, Fran McCaffrey's from the Philly area. He went to LaSalle High School. I was played a game at the Palestra before. I think it's cool. If anybody has Philly ties in the Big Ten, I definitely think it's cool that they play a game there. So I don't believe they've done it for a couple of years with COVID and everything, but I'm glad they're doing it. And I thought it was worth bringing up that Penn, is going to be on the road at Cornell tomorrow, but there's still going to be some basketball at the Palestra this weekend. So thought that was worth bringing up.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be a lot of fun. Yes, there are a lot of Penn State fans in this area. So that'll be very exciting for them to, be able to go to the Palestra, this historic place, and see them play one of the top teams in the country. They won't be number one because they lost to Rutgers in that insane game, though they did beat Ohio State at home on Thursday night. So that was a really good game from them. But it's still a very exciting matchup, and people in this area should look forward to that. And I don't think I have anything else. Good luck on your wisdom teeth. Although I don't know if you can afford to lose any more wisdom, but that's besides the point. Sorry, I had to get in there. I had to get that in there.
I'll clap it up for you.
It's the dad joke. I'm about the corny dad joke, so it's fine. But yeah. And also DeMar Hamlin doing much better for the Buffalo Bills, so we love to see that. He's responding to people, no, non-verbally right now. Was able to grab some of his, family member teammates' hands. So definitely, I know we mentioned that a little bit at the top of last show. So definitely glad to see him doing better, which is definitely something I wanted to bring up. So with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, the support is awesome. Like, we seriously are both extremely grateful. And I don't want to speak for him, but I am going to speak for him because we talked about this personally.
Oh, good. Go ahead.
We very much appreciate everybody's support. It's meant the world to us, and we're going to keep bringing you guys good content to, words are hard, and I don't know what the hell I was just about to say, but you know what I mean. We're going to give you the good content and give us support, and we very much appreciate it. So make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Big Five Pod. Make sure you listen on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. So we will see you next week.